this Sega Genesis was the unfortunate victim of a recent flood. It was shared with us by a friend of Tronics Fix named Aaron Elzy, who pulled this out of his dad's flooded garage in Asheville, North Carolina. Today I'm going to take it completely apart and give it a deep clean and find out from that point going forward if it works or if I need to kick this one on to Steve at Tronics Fix to see what he can do with it. The power switch is stuck in the on position here. I did plug it in and try it out and wasn't able to get any signal, so we're just going to move on here. This eject button also is sticking pretty bad, but I was able to get the lid open. We got some mud compacted in here that we're going to have to break through in order to access this screw. This one feels like it's kind of rusted in here. There it is. Yeah, that's why it was sticking. It's pretty rusted. This is my first time opening one of these, and I'm always interested to see the mechanics of how parts like this function. Everyone does it a little different. There doesn't seem to be enough space to be able to get this out of here. I see what I'm doing here. There's what looked like plastic is actually partially just a little sticker, so I'm going to heat this up and get it off of here. Now we can easily remove this lid. It looks like in this one that part of the tension mechanism is just from plastic that's meant to bend. Clips to squeeze in here to release this eject button. I'm not going to be able to remove this piece, it's plastic welded on. I need to bend back these little plastic clips in order to take this part off, and I'm going to heat it up just a little bit in hopes that that helps keep me from breaking them, because I think if they're colder they could be a little more brittle. Looks like we have a magnetic washer on here. I'm going to have to pry these little tabs out of the way in order to lift this plate up. As is often the case in these old consoles, this was once the home of some kind of gross spider. Carefully get my thumbnails under the sides of these plugs to get them disconnected. Wiggle them back and forth gently. This one is narrow enough to get my pliers on. And here we have the board for our disk drive system. It honestly does not look that bad for being flooded. Looks like that just wiggles off of there. Couple more plastic clips holding this giant washer in place that's keeping our cables organized. A little more rust on this plate. And that does it for the disk system, which was on the bottom of the flooded area. So let's see how bad the actual console is. This game label, I'm guessing, was a little chewed up before the flood. This plate here looks like it's just something that's put on to help it attach to the CD system. I have done a different Genesis system before, and remember that there is a cable here that we need to be careful not to just yank out. Kind of a cool little design here where we bend these wires back up straight and then just slide this piece off of here. Out of these three switches, one of them can be removed. These two, though, are kind of plastic welded on here again, but we can get the reset button. I would love to get this little indicator light out of here that shows up on the front, the power light. Unfortunately, this ring that it's on is kind of welded onto the system. Again, a plastic weld instead of something that can be removed. So we're just gonna have to clean around it. Can't do anything about these things. Here we have the answer to the riddle of what was rattling around inside of here. These little mud ball deposits from the muddy flood water getting in here and then hardening. Pretty interesting actually from a sedimentary point of view. Just physically remove these before we take the rest of it apart. This board was sitting higher than the rest of the system, in particular the CD system, so I'm not surprised that it also is in pretty good shape. Definitely moisture got in here, but it doesn't look like it was setting in the moisture, which would have caused a lot more corrosion on this board. Okay, we finally have this loose. Look at the other side here, and it doesn't look that bad at all. Again, I have no idea if just cleaning this is going to make it work at all, but it definitely gives me a little bit of hope to see the motherboards in both of these systems looking as non-corroded as they are. Probably should have been using a Phillips 2 on all of these screw heads. It's a little bit better fit, and I didn't notice it as much until I got to these ones where I require a little bit more torque. Let's pry the cap off of this thing and take a peek inside. Our final big rusty metal plate. Should be able to lift out here now. And yeah, the worst rust we're seeing is on the bottom of this. Before we get to the clean, there's just a couple of things I want to disassemble a little bit further. First of all, this little housing bracket on the bottom of the disk drive. And I think we're going to leave the rest of that pretty much alone and try to clean it. Also want to take this game apart. That's really easy. Just a couple of G 4.5 security screws. And get to the card, which actually looks pretty good too. I have a few pieces here that I didn't want to soak because of that metal thing there and some stickers, but I don't mind putting it in the water for a short period of time, just to be able to clean it off. We'll dry the stickers and any metal on here immediately after we clean it. But I'm not really worried about these stickers. If the flood water that this thing sat in didn't erode them or get rid of them, this quick little bath here is not going to do it either. Still, we'll just dry it off really quick with a paper towel before we rinse it. So here's another piece. I'm going to be a little more careful with this one because this is the one that actually has that wire with the little light up below the 16-bit lettering there. So we're just going to kind of try to keep this out of the water, clean around it, and any water that got close to it, we're just going to dry off really quick again. Here we have just another sticker, but once again, it's not really a big deal. But still, I'll just only get it wet for a short period of time and dry it off immediately after cleaning it. This rust that bleeds off of the metal onto the plastic is one of the most difficult things to remove. We'll do the first round of cleaning here with the paintbrush and the soapy water, but it's going to require more than that. I'm going to be trying something for the first time today, and it requires a little bit better protection for my hands and eyes. This is a much stronger concentration of vinegar than I have previously used on metal, but I noticed that the 5% solution I was previously using just wasn't cutting it. And Steve and I theorized that it might be because we need a stronger solution. So we are going to try soaking these pieces in this and call it an experiment. We're going to see what it does to the rust. As is pretty typical for my cleans now, I'll be using 99% solution of isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to use a combination of different brushes of different softness and stiffness. The first thing I like to do is just kind of get it all saturated a little bit with the makeup brush. We'll get our spider out of here. Now that we have some of this gunk loosened up, getting a cotton swab in here, we can actually kind of remove most of it from the surface of the board here. And you can see on this cotton swab how we are definitely getting something, even though the board doesn't look like it's changing very much. As is also my custom, a little bit of BW100 in any of these ports to help irrigate and wash them out. Some long stiff bristles to kind of work some of the stuff in there because I can see a little bit of that corrosion or rust that has built up inside of there. We do have a spot here on the back of the motherboard where you can see some corrosion that has happened inside of the board itself. And so we're just going to try to remove that, and hopefully that will get rid of any electrical connection that's happening between places that it shouldn't be happening. It is kind of a very surface level thing. Definitely a good thing to take care of when cleaning, but again, I don't know that this is going to fix this system. I like to use deoxit on these pins just to help clean them and make a good solid connection between them and the game board. So I'll also use it on these pins here where this connects. Here I have this assembly which I'm going to just try to clean again to all the parts that I can easily see here. Very carefully clean the eye. Looks like these little rubber feet can come off. That'll be handy for cleaning. These Armor All cleaning wipes are very good for getting the stuff off the surface here. I realize that I am getting the sticker a little bit here, but Let's be honest, this sticker is not in perfect condition anyway, and I just want to get it clean. Now we can move on to this residual rust that's left behind after we have soap and hot water cleaned this, and you can see it's really difficult stuff to remove here. Really nice noise to listen to, but we can get most of it eventually with a combination of different approaches. All of these metal parts have soaked overnight now at this point in this 30% solution of vinegar, and so we're just going to try to clean it. You can definitely see it coming up right away. It's pretty effective, but I am going to have to move to a different location and actually rinse the vinegar off here because I cannot handle the smell. It is really strong. So you are getting a first time reveal of our state-of-the-art kitchen here at Tronics Fix. Now that I have scrubbed and rinsed all of these off, I'm going to saturate this cloth with some WD-40 and I'm going to meticulously cover all of this metal. My hope is that this protectant coating will help prevent it from rusting again in the future. I did put all of these screws in there and we're going to scrub them off and also make sure to put some WD-40 on them, and then hopefully they'll be good to go as well. Alright, let's get everything put back together here. Okay, we have this thing clean, ready to test. My hopes aren't super high with it. I really didn't look at anything from a technical point of view besides just cleaning it. But you never know. Okay. Oh, what was that? Ooh. So you see that? There is life here. There is at least the possibility of life. And, I never owned a SEGA growing up, and I'm curious if it's a common problem if these cables in the back kind of have a tough time staying connected. I feel like with my old NES, sometimes I'd have to do that. Wiggle it, put some pressure on it, set it against the wall in the back with some constant pressure down on it or something. At any rate, I think there's enough here to go off of for me to be able to hand this off to Steve as part of a collection that I'm putting together for him for Tronics Fix of things that I've cleaned, but maybe could use his work to get perfectly working. So I think that's it for me today. I appreciate you hanging out with me, and we'll see you on the next video.